Are you sympathetic to the protesters' cause, since a $15 wage works out to about $31,000 a year?
I can't be, Neil, and the reason I can't be is that we are a country that is being beaten on every front, economically, militarily. There is nothing that we do now to win. We don't win anymore.
As far as the minimum wage is concerned, people need to be educated on the minimum wage. Every time we raise the minimum wage, the number of jobless people increases.
So, sir, just to be clear, you would not raise it?
I would not raise it.
That every country in the world has rich people. What makes America special is that we have millions and millions of people that are not rich, that through hard work and perseverance are able to be successful. The problem is that today people are not successful working hard as ever because the economy is not providing jobs that pay enough. If I thought that raising the minimum wage was the best way to help people increase their pay, I would be all for it, but it isn't. In the 21st century, it's a disaster.
It's a disaster to raise the minimum wage. Guys, this is unbelievable. When I was watching this, I was tweeting about how they're so deep in their bubble that they can't see straight. I mean, there are polls that show that 80% of the American people are for raising the minimum wage. 80%. There are polls that have even a majority of Republicans are like, yeah, raise the minimum wage. So when they give answers like this, they're pleasing nobody but the establishment, but the corporations, but the billionaires, but the business owners and the elites. And, you know, if you wonder, well, why is it that the Republicans have been doing shitty in national elections recently, especially presidential elections, well, there's your answer. I mean, one thing is the George Bush effect and the neocon effect. Nobody liked his administration, so that had a lot to do with it. But also because they say shit like this, where, you know, in their mind, they're like, well, I'm going to keep it real here, and I'm going to, like, represent people when I say this. But in reality, you're not keeping it real, and you're not representing anybody. Even a majority of your own base says raise the minimum wage. So it's stuff like this that where Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders are watching it and laughing and going, oh my God, you're just trying to hand over the election to us. And virtually everything they said there was incorrect. So PolitiFact looked into Ben Carson's statement about how, unemployment rises when you raise minimum wage. That's not true. They've raised it in some localities and at the state level in some places, and unemployment didn't go up. Now, could that be true if they raise the minimum wage tomorrow to $50 an hour? Of course, because then you have small businesses that can't afford to pay people $50 an hour, so they're going to have to lay you off. But that's not what happens. And when we talk about minimum wage increases, we're universally talking about modest increases that just pay people a living wage. And it turns out that the studies have shown, and the data proves, that that does not increase unemployment, so that's just a cop-out argument. And then Trump says, well, I can't sympathize with them. A billionaire saying, I can't sympathize with a minimum wage worker. Incredible. He says, because we're being beaten economically. So your solution to being beaten economically is to keep wages super low? Well, then we're winning at the expense of what? Quality of life for the American people? For the working poor? That's not winning. But see, what he means is, like, he wants to beat Bangladeshi factory workers. You know, like a teenage girl working in a factory in Bangladesh making shit and, you know, making 19 cents an hour or whatever the fuck it is. He's like, well, we got to bring the jobs back here somehow. Pay them like 17 cents an hour here and get them back here. No, but Donald, there are ways to actually have a high quality of living and, you know, stop doing free trade altogether, so-called free trade. Stop outsourcing altogether. All you need is the government to set up the right policies to say, we're going to tax you if you send your company overseas and you have people in Mexico or wherever make the products. There are ways to do this without driving wages down in the United States of America. And then Marco Rubio says, well, America is special because this is a place where people can work hard and not be rich. Like, and I assume what he's saying, if I'm being kind, is, well, you can work hard and be middle class here, and that's what makes us special. As if America is the only place that has a middle class. He said that's what makes America special. Hello? I mean, I don't know if you've seen the statistics recently, but the American dream is no longer really the American dream. It's now the Canadian dream. They're beating us in terms of economic mobility, moving up that economic ladder and doing better than your parents' generation. They're ahead of us now. Scandinavia's been kicking our ass here too, where there's a much better chance that, you'll have a decent quality of living and you'll be comfortably middle class if you're there. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that they have a social democratic system where, education bills are off the table, healthcare bills are off the table. The tax money actually goes to them, to the citizens. I know, a crazy fucking idea. But look at this stuff, man. And they're all totally oblivious to the facts, too, that if you raise the minimum wage along with the increase that the top 1% had, the minimum wage would be over $22 today. If you just kept it up with productivity, it'd be about $21 today. If you kept it the same as it was in 1968 and simply accounted for inflation, so the exact same wage as 1968, it'd be about $10.10 today. So by every measure, the minimum wage workers are getting screwed. And here you have Republicans who are on the record now. I'm not in favor of the working poor. I'm not. So now when they talk about cutting taxes and looking out for the little guy, the average Joe, they're not talking about you. When they talk about cutting taxes and helping out the little guy, they're really talking about the upper middle class and the rich, the top 10% maybe. Because here they have an opportunity, a softball down the center of the plate to say, you're with the working poor people, and they say, no, fuck them. Yay, wage slavery. So you're in favor of people working full-time jobs and not making enough money to survive. Thank you for doing your best to hand the election over to Democrats.